So, dear Margaret, I hear Mr. Poe has called you a busybody and accuses you of having a perpetual sneer.
Mr. Poe has his following. I doubt he likes the fact that a woman of substance can read, and much worse, write coherently.
Well, I admire your rich writing. It always reminds me of talking with a pen in hand. I wish I could be as eloquent in my own work.
Thank you. My father believed there should be no distinction when it came to an education. He was so disappointed at my birth, at my not being male. He used to treat me as he would a son. He taught me always to smile at insults to my fellow female, and to realize that the person who is dedicated to becoming more enlightened will always find a way to move forward, even if she happens to be a woman.
Hear, hear. So many women today can be so flighty. They simper and smile behind their handkerchiefs and cannot speak their minds. Why is that, Margaret?
I cannot speak for all those souls. I do know women who are taught that it is attractive, such behavior, and to always agree with their husbands, and others who refuse. All I know is I'm the second type, my dear Henry. Yet I'm thought to be so fierce and straightforward with my words that people like Hawthorne and Poe ridicule me.
God, not the devil.
I like what I do best, and that is writing. So I try to accept the shortcomings of both men and women who have not found their lives fully at peace.
What if I should find my peace only on this water? My life is spent in such wonder here on the river and in the meadows that I cannot see myself in a relationship like Lydia and Waldo, or even like my mother and father. My romantic life is a perpetual maelstrom that seems to be driven by a turbulent wind of wanting more from life. How can I find the balance in myself that nature exhibits with such ease?
Well, how can you expect to nurture a relationship when you're happiest alone with nature? I certainly haven't found anyone who can navigate the waters of my mercurial emotions. We must look to the existence we have created in our lifetime, Henry. We live in a nation in a time that allows us to be challenged. America has produced far too many incentives for us to remain common. And I'm excited to exist on this earthly river with you.
With you.
I'm never unhappy when I'm reading a treatise by you or by Waldo. Our literature is a means of mutual interpretation, and we can share our insights until we die.
There you go again, Margaret, talking with a pen in hand.
So you see, Lydian, we are like-minded souls, Henry and I, and there shall never be a boat ride where I do not hear his voice laughing at my soul.
And I shall never look at a maple tree without remembering his uncanny ability to make wonderful syrup. He had a way of loving life by doing, not by talking. Sometimes, when he was living with us, I wish my husband were more like him.
Yes, Henry lived with us when he was not teaching, and he tutored our son, as well as doing odd jobs around the house. His father and brother ran a graphite business, but Henry only joined them when his finances were depleted, or when he was forced to continue the business because his father had died. He improved the design of the pencil, made it competitive with the European market. There was an illness that inflicted this land called consumption. It did not bode well for our families. Henry and his brother both had it, as did their sister and father. My first wife two brothers and son, all succumbed to this terrible croup. If we are to live at all after having it, as Henry alone did for a few short years, we will find the reason why we walk this earth. Before Henry's demise, he and his brother John were able to make a remarkable trip on two Massachusetts rivers. In a boat that had a fine rudder and a makeshift tent in the middle for sleeping at night. Henry wrote a treatise about this called A Week on the Concord and Merrimack Rivers, and of course became a lively drummer with his remarkable piece on civil disobedience. If you listen closely enough now, you will hear how the two brothers were stirred by the nature that was their church as they drifted on a Sunday and dreamed of action based on conscience.
The Mississippi, the Ganges, and the Nile all have a kind of personal importance in the annals of the world. The heavens are not yet drained over their sources, and the mountains of the moon still send their annual tribute to the pharaohs.
Henry, you're waxing poetic. It's not just played on your head.
These great rivers are the national and natural highways of all nations, not only conducting the traveler through the most interesting scenery and leveling the ground and removing obstacles, but also through the most populous portions of the globe and where the animal and vegetable kingdoms attain their greatest perfection. Stop moving around so much. It's only going to make a bandage get into a mess again. How you ever managed to shave off a fingertip while shaving?
You never could deal with illness, could you? I'll be fine. I just need to rest a minute. That's being reminded of my misstep like I was a child. Let's just sit back and maybe you could read that part of your discourse about why you spent the night in jail.
All right. I call this part my prisons. But to speak practically, and as a citizen, unlike those who call themselves no government men, I ask for at once, not no government, but at once a better government. Let every man make known what kind of government would command his respect, and that will be one step toward attaining. Confucius said, if the state is governed by the principles of reason, poverty and misery are subjects of shame. If the state is not governed by the principles of reason, wealth and honor are subjects of shame.
There you go again. Speaking of the state, what are you trying to do?
I am declaring that where my liberty is endangered, I can refuse allegiance to Massachusetts and to a right to my property and life.
Whew. That's one big sticker to throw out in the government.
Well, first it was the church a few years ago who said pay a pew tax or be locked up. I did not attend church. Our family did, and I saw no reason to pay it. Unfortunately, others did, and so I made a statement. Let it be known by these present that I, Henry Thoreau, do not wish to be regarded as a member of any incorporated society which I have not joined.
That's still them. I'm sure they like that.
Beavers building a dam. They came after me again, though, continuing their ritual of making me pay for taxes I did not believe in at this time for a war with Mexico. Henry,
Get on with your story.
because I have paid no poll tax for 6 years, I was put into a jail for one night. And as I stood considering the walls of solid stone 2 or 3 feet thick, the door of wood and iron a foot thick, I could not help being struck with the foolishness of that institution, which treated me as if I were flesh and bones to be locked up.
It was a jail, Henry. That's what they're made of. Rocks and iron.
I did not for a moment feel confined. Thus the state never intentionally confronts a man's sense, intellectual or moral, but only his body, his senses. It is not armed with superior wit or honesty, but with superior physical strength. I was not born to be forced. I will breathe after my own fashion.
Yes, but will you breathe easily if you have to spend a long time in that cold jail?
It was like traveling into a far country such as I had never expected to behold. To lie there for one night. It seemed to me that I had never heard the town clock strike before, nor the evening sounds of the village, for we slept with the windows open. It was to see my native village in the light of the Middle Ages, and our concord was turned into a Rhine stream. And visions of knights and castles passed before me. They were the voices of old burghers that I heard in the streets. I was an involuntary spectator and auditor of whatever was done and said in the kitchen of the adjacent village inn. A wholly new and rare experience to me. It was a closer view of my native town. I was fairly silent.
Did you have to work the next day?
No, after a breakfast of chocolate and brown bread, my cellmate was released to look at haying, and I was let go.
Just like you, to get someone to bail you out.
I did not ask for it, but I realized that my neighbors were not willing to lose either their land or their good names to stand up for what they believed in. They already felt sorry for me. Do not dwell on the physical limitations of the body. Let us change the subject and observe the superb flora and fauna, the church all around us.
It is Sunday today. And if we were a pew at Second Church, the oratory of your friend Waldo would be mesmerizing the gathering. You think Ellen would be there today?
I would not doubt it. You have been seeing much of her lately.
You wonder at our involvement.
Well, let that be for a bit, and let us conduct our own service here on these wondrous waters. Do you not agree that the New Testament treats of man and man's spiritual affairs too exclusively?
I was never one to question how the Bible did not speak to all men.
Well, the book has never been written that is to be taken without allowance.
That sounds like something from your Harvard education.
Now, that institution of learning has many branches, but it lacks roots.
So you say, and you were able to attend those hallowed halls while I was left in the pencil factory with Father watching my every move.
As I was saying, Christ was a sublime actor on the stage of the world. He knew what he was thinking when he said, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away." I draw near to him at such a time.
And now, we shall have a hymn. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God.
That has always been one of my favorite hymns. Even though Jesus was a healer, a rabbi, and a spiritual leader, yet he taught man perfectly how to live. His thoughts were all directed toward another world. There's another kind of success than his. Even here we have a sort of living to get, and must buffet it a little longer.
Say on, old sage.
There are many tough problems yet to be solved, and we must make a shift to live between spirit and matter, to get along in a human form as best we can.
Hear, hear.
The sort of morality which the priests inculcate is a very subtle policy, far finer than the politicians. And the world is very successfully ruled by them as the policemen.
It depends. If you're a Lutheran, Baptist, Methodist, or Unitarian minister, as to how successful your fiery tirade makes the flock submit to their obligations of law.
It is not worth the while to let our imperfections disturb us always. Conscience is instinct bred in the house. Feeling and thinking propagate the sin by an unnatural breathing in and in. I say, turn it outdoors, into the moors.
I love a life whose plot is simple. It does not thicken with every pimple. A soul so sound no sickly conscience binds it. That makes the universe no worse than it finds it. Yes, I know your poem well. I sing its praises till the day I die. That be our benediction. Let us enjoy this heavenly Sunday with no more talk of conscience. Let us live now.
Amen.
Amen.
After John died, there was a loneliness about him that refused to go away. We had a discussion on one walk about an experiment that he wished to perform. Well, are you planning on retirement?
Retire? No. That's an absurd idea. Why spend the best part of your life earning money so that you can enjoy a questionable liberty during the least valuable part of it? Why work like a dog so that you pant for a moment or two before you die?
What do you feel will soothe your soul?
I need to have solitude. Time to hear the birds and feel the wind. A place apart from the daily distractions of life. A place near water. You have some acreage on Walden Pond, do you not?
Yes, but there's no suitable house there.
Give me a piece of that land wall, though, and I will make a fine abode, large enough for me and my right.
I always enjoyed his honesty. That's when he got my permission to build a small house, not more than 10 by 15 feet, on Walden Pond. He built it all of his own hand, added a fireplace to keep warm in the winter, and wrote his memoirs for the next 2 years. The waters of the world can be so dangerous at times. It can swoop around one's soul and be unforgiving in its tenacity. I shall never forget one tragic event that fragmented our friendship, and yet remains at the core of who we chose to be. When we received word that Margaret and her baby were missing from a shipwreck just off the coast, Henry and I hurried to the site to see if there were any survivors. Henry wanted to swim out to where the ship had gone down. This is a foolish and risky venture, Henry. Why lose your life along with theirs? The sea is a whirlpool.
We could hire a boat and look for her with help.
Since her baby has already been found dead, there's no hope for Margaret now.
I will always feel like I let her down if I do not try.
You must be crazed to think that you can make a difference now.
Talk, talk, talk. That is all you do. You're not willing to put your life on the line when it matters most. Margaret understood that. She went to Italy to support a revolution because she felt she could make a difference. She had a child without a husband, and she believed in those actions. And now, she's gone. That is the difference between you and me. You're able to fashion words and you deliver them with such eloquence. When it comes to acting on those words, you fall short. Be not simply good. Be good for something.
How dare you question my moral fiber? You who can only write a short treatise about not paying your taxes or a stroll down the river. When are you going to grow into the man that I always hoped would leave this world with words of lasting worth? When are you going to take action when it really counts?
Waldo, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away.
barely talked all the way back to Concord. He went off to Canada with the Unitarian minister, Ellery Channing, to get away for a bit. But he never did write that great manuscript. And now he's gone, at the very young age of 44. And his life remains one of eloquent beauty. I wish I could take back those words now, but I did not realize the depth of his beliefs. I go back to Walden Pond. I go there often now, as I often did before. And I remember how Henry examined and named this plant or that. Tell me if it was blooming early or blooming late. And watched him feed his pet mouse by hand. And how the other animals, like the squirrel and a skunk, were unafraid of it. I could hear him call.
I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what they had to teach. And now when I came to die, I discovered that I had not lived. I did not want to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out the marrow of life. To drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest of terms.
To live deep and suck out the marrow of life. Henry lived his life fully. No looking back and wishing things were different. And now I quote from Henry's favorite Bible verse. Revelation chapter 22, verse 17. And the Spirit and the bride say, Come. And let him that is athirst come. And let whosoever will take of the water freely. Good day, all you kind members of the Lyceum. May the memories of Henry bring peace to your lives as it floats upon the waters of our lives. Amen. Please turn in page. You'll have no. To page 1046. And we'll sing verses 1 and 4 of Henry and John's favorite hymn, Shall We Gather Together?